very good welcome to you from the third round of the 2022 Fanatec GT World Challenge Asia, powered by AWS. We've raced at Sepang last weekend. We came to the first part of a 4-round series for the Japan Cup. We came to Suzuka. The weather wasn't brilliant. It improved, but here this weekend at Fuji Speedway, the sun is shining. The volcano was briefly seen this morning, but it's a fabulous scene, a brilliant setting. And we're all set for round 3 of the 22 Fanatec GT Asian Series. Fuji International Speedway. It's a brilliant place to go racing. We've got a great grid of cars. And in fact, talking of the grid, let us head down to a new person who is down there to look after the grid for us, Amy Izawa, who's going to tell us what the atmosphere is like on the grid, the weather, the feeling among the drivers. Amy, how is it down there with you?
Fuji Speedway, yokoso! Welcome to Fuji Speedway. If you ask me about the weather, the sun is back. It's amazing. There were a few thick layers of the clouds before, but I think this is just a typical summery Japanese weather, I guess. So there's no possibility of rain at the moment, I hope, and let's cross our fingers that there's no water. If you ask me about the atmosphere, it's just amazing. 25 cars on the track, and I've seen so many smiles, fans, and the drivers. Everyone's smiling because it's been quite emotional since last weekend. International racing is back in Japan. It's just an amazing feeling. So let's hope this is a fun and exciting race.
Thanks, Amy. Really getting the buzz from you. Now that we had a fabulous couple of races last weekend, and the weather really played a bit of a role in that. Let's take a look at the highlights, the best of what happened in the 2 races at Suzuka.
It all began on a wet road, and it began with big excitement as the GT3 cars stormed clear down towards the first corner on the inside line, trying to protect the advantage, but ultimately running out of grip was the Ferrari, started by the pole winner, Naoki Yokomitsu. He lost rear traction, around it went, and a big hit into the barriers. So that gave Kampani Kusiri the race lead, but it also gave us a safety car, with, in second place, the Ferrari in the hands of Takeshi Kimura. When the race restarted, Kimura was given a tap in the tail by Hiroshi Hamaguchi. That sent him off the road. Hamaguchi came up to have a go at the Porsche. We had a second safety car though as well, which was triggered by number 8 of Saitawan Santoso going off the road, and the field bunching up once more. Hamaguchi though was all over the back of the leading Porsche, but couldn't quite find a way by. It wasn't long before we got to the pit stop window either, and that meant that the leading cars early came in to give way to the quicker drivers. Andrew McPherson gave way to Ben Porter. We then had a change of lead between the Porsches as a struggling Tenat Sato and Tirankul lost out to a charging Yuzi Kimamura. Kimamura going through on the inside of him down to the second of the Degler curves. Behind them was Nick Foster's Mercedes that was closing right up as well. But Kei Cozzolino on his slicks was just eating up the real estate, swooping around the outside of Nick Foster's Mercedes. And before much longer, he was on the back of the leading Porsches. The suggestion that he might be good for the podium was then he might be good for a race win. It didn't take him long at all to make the move, and he was in front with a lap to spare. Kei Cozzolino's last lap being a 2 minutes 9, the last lap of anybody behind him being a 2 minutes 15 or slower. A quite outstanding drive by Kei Cozzolino on slicks on a damp track, just breathtaking. And Kei Cozzolino and Takeshi Kimura winning the first round of Fanatec Japan Cup and round 3 of the Fanatec GT World Challenge Asia, powered by AWS. An absolutely brilliant drive by Kei Cozzolino and an inspired decision on the tyre choice by Takeshi Kimura as they celebrated on the top step of the podium. Well, it began with Kei Cozzolino making a good start. Not a great getaway by the BMW alongside him in Saijiara. That gave Nick Foster the chance to challenge on the inside line as they headed down towards the first corner, looped their way through turn 1, and the Ferrari already 2 or 3 lengths clear the other side of that right-hander, and that gave Cozzolino then the chance to try and build the lead, and he was up to about 2.6 seconds before we got the first safety car period. Another car on an absolute mission and gaining ground by moving up past Kaita Sawa was the Porsche in the hands of Yuta Kamimura. That car would end the race though with damage and be partly a cause of an interruption, as in the new Ferrari, the replacement car effectively came a charging Kyoto Fujinami, and he worked his way around the outside as well. The pit window opened eventually, and the drivers elected in many cases to get the stops out of the way sooner rather than later. That shuffled the order and enabled the Aston Martin of D-Station to move ahead of the BMW that had now been given over to the Japanese driver Tomohiro Yamaguchi. And then came the incidents as Kantabi Kusiri made his move on the inside of Abu Ibrahim. The cars touched heading up towards the hairpin. It was enough to send both of them into a spin, and as Yoko Suzuki, who had just been lapped, braked, waiting to see which way the accident went, she got a massive hit in the back by the Porsche in the hands of Hiroaki Nagai, and that put that car off the road. And then we had a second accident a little while after, when here Satoshi Hoshino got onto the grass, overtaking Andrew McPherson, and annihilated the GT4 Mercedes, took it with him, the car in the hands of Jun Tashiro that had won yesterday. That meant that the race finished behind the safety car. Massive frustration for many, but there was delight at Comet Racing. For the very first time in the championship's history, an AM-class car wins outright. For the very first time in the championship's history, the Honda NSX GT3 Evo wins outright. And the first victory too for Comet Racing, as Yuzuki Yamazaki and Yorikatsu Tsushiko celebrate victory here at Suzuka.
So really, really exciting action. Let's see if we can follow that here at Fuji. So Nick Foster leading the way, 68 points to Adrian De Silva and Earl Bamber, who aren't here this weekend. They're on 43, so Foster's got his nose right in front. But Kei Kosolino and Takeshi Kimura with their really strong runs at Suzuka looking good. And you know what? They've grabbed the 2 pole positions here this weekend at Fuji as well. So look out for them in that CarGuy Racing Ferrari. Reid Harker and Setiawan Santoso scoring points regularly, but they need to start slotting some wins in there, and you can be sure that Prince Abu Bakr Ibrahim and Jasmine Jafar are determined they too will get in at the sharp end of the field in the second of those 2 888 Racing Mercedes. Brilliant in the dark blue and white, and the drivers lining up in their pairings on the grid for the team photo, and a fantastic sight it is as well. You can see Takuma Aoki in the middle in his wheelchair. We'll talk more about him later on, but great to have the former motorcycle star racing with us this weekend. So the grid, a busy place to be. Look at the flags down the grid. You can see the wind is blowing straight down into the drivers' faces. Now, one of the cars that's really started to make its mark this year is the Bmw M4 Gt3. Let's go and hear from Seiji Yara in an interview about what it's like to have one here at Fuji.
To see you at Fuji. The Japan Cup, a brand new competition. How important is it for racing in Japan to see these events happen?
So this is a kind of a world challenge race. So this is good for Japanese driver, and also our team. I was driving with Mr. Yamaguchi. He's a teammate. For Japanese Super GT until last year, but he's a Japanese driver, gentleman driver. So this race is a professional and amateur race, amateur class. So this is good for us, and this category is kind of. Number 1 quickest gentleman driver cup. So this is good for Japanese gentleman driver. So I'm very happy to racing this race. So.
And you come out of Suzuka second in the driver's standings, so it looks like you're enjoying yourself. Yeah, you enjoying this?
I'm very enjoying it. So. We have chance to win a championship. So we keep pushing hard and enjoy. I want to enjoy this race.
And how's the car performing out there?
M4 Gt3 is fantastic car. So very fun to drive and also quick. So we push this race.
Well, good to hear there from Seiji Yara. Don't forget, Le Mans winner back in 2004. But the atmosphere really bubbling. We heard earlier from Amy talking about how it was building up, and that was before the drivers were all brought out to stand in front of their cars in their driver lineups for a big team photo. But right now, the drivers are starting to be strapped on board. Even though there are lots of people around them, they know the serious part of the racing is lying ahead. 1 hour of racing of course, with a driver change at around the midpoint, but they all enjoy racing here at the Fuji Speedway. It's a great circuit, 16 turns in all, a long start-finish straight, and then a really tight first corner on the right-hand side of the screen. Then the drivers go down the hill the first time they start dropping, and it really drops from turn 1 all the way down to the bulge halfway around, turns 4 and 5, then it doubles back on itself, and then it feeds to the end of the second timing interval. Then the climb starts from turn 10, 11, 12, 14, etc. up turn 16 onto the start-finish straight. It's very fast in places, very technical in others, and it's high temperature, so it's going to be quite tough on the tyres as well. Yes, you can see the flags blowing, and in fact you can also see the bright yellow Ferrari at the front of the grid on pole position, and Amy is down there with Takeshi Kimura.
All right, I'm at car number 777 with Takeshi Kimura. 木村選手、初めてのポールからのスタートになるかと思うんですけれども、心境はいかがでしょうか？
いやもう緊張しちゃってね、もうポール取れたから、もうこのレースはいいです。はい、もう別にもういいです。みんなありがとうございます。安全に。
はい、素晴らしい本当ポールポジションでしたのでね、スタート頑張ってください。応援してます。So he is very
Just lost the rest.
Oh, sorry. So that was him. He's very nervous because this is his first start from pole position. So he's quite happy with his pole position. His time for the quali was great enough, so it's okay if he drops this race. That was his comment. Back to you, Bruce.
Thanks very much, Amy. As you can see, the grid is clearing behind her, but it's a very happy camp. They've taken the two pole positions here at Fuji Speedway. Takeshi took pole for this first race, and teammate Kei Cozzolino had that brilliant drive in the wet at Suzuka, will be on pole for race 2. But yeah, there's that added pressure of racing on home ground and also racing for the independent Fanatec Japan Cup. So plenty to play for. But right now, all focus on the line, the run down to that first corner. See, again, those flags are really starting to flutter. There is a bit of a breeze blowing through, but we have just an hour to go. Well, an hour-long race, the national anthem being sung. Well, what a fantastic rendition of the national anthem, ringing out around the PA, around the circuit, and now all the people up in the grandstand can look down as the cars are revealed in all their beauty. And if you're a fan of the prancing horse, you're spoilt. You have two on the front row, and it's worth pointing out the car on the outside of the front row, that's the grandstand side, the bright blue one with the yellow stripe up the middle, CarGuy Racing. Of course, they had a big crash in the first of the two races at Suzuka. Effectively, a whole new car had to be prepared. So still dialing themselves in, but there they are. They've dialed themselves very nicely. Qualifying was good for them. So that will be started, car number 27 by Naoki Yokomizo. The driver's about to set off on their formation lap, just waiting for the signal. 1 hour of racing, a mandatory pit stop between 25 minutes and 35 minutes after the race starts. Let's see who is going to hold it all together through those stops. GT3 runners at the front, 17 in all, 16 plus a GTC championship car. And then behind we have the Gt4 cars making up the mix with two Bmw M2 CSRs as well for good effect. Great view from great camera angle looking down from the starting gantry. The lights are waved. Of course, this is the start of the formation lap. When the field will come round, we will have a rolling start. So 2 Ferraris on the front row. Behind a real mix of cars. Porsches, Aston Martin, the Lamborghini. Let's take a look at the grid. Takeshi Kimura, Naoki Yokomizo on that front row. Second row, just waiting for the graphic to come through. Look out for this one, the AAS Porsche. It's got a very, very good driver pairing, the number 18 car, and Kusiri had showed great form in qualifying. Hamaguchi and Yamaguchi, what's rhyming there? Lamborghini and BMW on the third row of the grid. And then a real mix of fantastic GT3 cars. Now, a real story you're going to look for through the course of this race is the 2 888 race engineering BMW Mercedes. You'd expect them nearer the fronter part of the grid, but qualifying didn't go their way, but they've shown really good race pace through the course of the championship so far. So look for progression from those 2 dark blue and silver Mercedes. But can anyone do anything about the Ferraris? Well, there is a question. Now, just to point out as well, we have, of course, GT3 cars at the front. They also have a Pro-Am class and an Am class. And then GT4, we've got Silver Am, which is a bit more qualified drivers in the GT4 class, and GT4 Am, so potentially 5 podiums. Banksy there, Bingo Racing, just joining the championship this weekend in the GTC Porsche, so it's just sort of below GT3 level. He'll be at the back. He's lumped in with the 16 GT3 cars. He's starting at the back of their pack, then a slight gap, and then the GT4 cars. And Jun Chishiro was on pole position in 19th place overall for that. He went very, very well indeed in qualifying this morning in the Team Scala. It's the bright orange Mercedes. Just see it at the back of your screen. He's leading the GT4 class, and in behind the Akiland Racing Toyota Supra. Very, very nimble looking car and very well driven indeed by Kimura, who had some really tidy laps this morning in that. 16 turns in all. The last part of the lap is very, very twisty indeed. The drivers all really had to sort of consider how to use their qualifying tyres this morning. It's only a 15-minute session, and you can see that the bold went very early on them, but some of them waited for their second or even their third flying lap to really build up the pace. But certainly GT3, the main grouping of cars at the front of the field, is very tight indeed. But today's pole sitters and tomorrow's pole sitter a little bit of an advantage, and this race is being started by Takeshi Kimura on pole position alongside Naoki Yokomizo, those 2 Ferraris, then the AAS Porsche number 18 tucked in behind them. 1 hour of racing up ahead. The red lights are on, all 5 of them waiting for them to turn to green, and we'll be off for the 3rd round of the series. 4 races under our belt across the first 2 rounds. It seems like a long hold, but it's a very long start-finish straight. Which Ferrari is going to make it the best start of all? And the Audi looks pretty feisty in about 10th position further back. But it's our poleman, Takeshi Kimura, nice and neat and tidy, straight across the road of Naoki Yokomitsu. Looks so Yokomitsu may lose out to Kusiri up the inside in the AAS Motorsport Porsche, but not in front as the turn 1 turns into turn 2. The track really falls away down the natural slope. Clean and tidy. 25 cars started 25. Well done. Gentlemen have got through the first corner. Turn 3 will have more of that through the course of the race, because track limits is what's looked out for there. Yokomizo doing really, really well to hold off Kantadi Kusiri, who's pushing so hard in the Porsche, but it's the 2 Ferraris that started on the front row of the grid, first and second, and I must say, suddenly Yokomizo closed right in on race leader Takeshi Kimura, who's being a little bit cautious. He had the advantage going into the first corner. He breathed, he got it under control, but now, look, Yugibo Racing, the bright blue car in the background, getting closer and closer to CarGuy Racing. Down to turn 10 they go. This is the point, lowest point on the circuit, and then it starts twisting its way up the hill through turn 11. Turn 12 has been negotiated up to turn 13. The right-hander there. 14 and 15 follow here. There's just turning into 14, carry on turning to the left, and it's 15. Latter part of the lap, Kimura settling down a little bit better. Yokomizo's using his tyres better, though. He's prepared to attack, whereas I think Kimura's being really, really quite cautious in the lead of the field. I'm sure he's smiling, but there'll be a little bead of sweat on his brow. Now a better exit from the final corner into the perfect position for getting a toe down the start-finish straight. Yokomizo's worked this very, very well indeed. He's right in the perfect position to make his move, but when is Kimura going to block it off? Past pit exit, well, not up to pit exit, it's such a long start-finish straight. Right, he's laid his colours out, but he's going to the outside to try and swoop in, but he's left the door open, And Yokomizo, you know what, that was very sensible driving. Kimura realised the greater speed was coming from his fellow Ferrari driver and let him through, or else it wasn't naivety, it was being perfectly sensible. In behind in third place, Kantadi Kusiri, and then Hiroshi Hamaguchi in the Lamborghini in fourth place, Satoshi Hoshino in the Aston Martin in fifth, and then Yamaguchi is in sixth place overall in number 5, plus with BMW Team Studi BMW. Now looking at the first three, I sense actually the fastest car is third in the battle. It's Kusiri in the Porsche, but he's got to get past Kimura. Kimura made it pretty easy for Yokomizo to go past, decided not to block him into turn 1. You could see the effect of the toe, and I think he's probably going to leave half a gap. That's all he left, and almost contact there with Kusiri. And all along, this is exactly what Yokomizo wants, so he can get away. But Kusiri is pushing very hard indeed, trying to turn third place into second. Bit of a gap back to Hamaguchi in fourth place. First three starting to get away. Now the real question is, how long can Kimura hang on in second place? In the interest of having a brilliant race, we almost want him to cede position so the AAS Porsche can go off after the race leader, but Kantadi Kusiri's now exactly in the same position as Yokomizo was a lap ago. In tow, but almost as tight in as Yokomizo was last time, so maybe Kimura can survive and attack into turn 1. Here comes the move, up the inside goes Kusiri. Is he alongside? Sort of, almost, not quite. No, not quite. That's the simple answer to that. So Kimura hangs on for another lap in the lead of the race. But all along, Yokomizo's just starting to stretch his legs, starting to pull clear. Down through turn 2, turn 3 negotiating. Now, you have to watch out for drivers running a little bit wide there. They were all warned, pretty much because they'd all done it yesterday, running off the track at turn 3. But look, every time you see Yogibo Racing Ferrari, the pale blue one at the front of the field, it's pulling just a little half a car length here or there, so a tenth of a second here or there, pulling away. It's not far in front, but, however, Kusiri will be desperate to move on up with the AAS Motorsport Porsche. Third is good, second is better. That's his ambition. Now, what I'm starting to sense is the Lamborghini is closing in, so our second and third battle could become second, third and fourth. Hiroshi Hamaguchi, as soon as we get out a little bit wider on the camera angle, you'll see there comes the Lamborghini, definitely closer than he was last time around. At the start of the lap, he was 1.3 seconds down on Kusiri's Porsche. He's way less than that. I think he's half a second, maybe, yeah, half a second down on the Porsche. Here comes a move. It was shaping up for a while, nice and neat, tidy and easy, and completed by Kusiri. It was just a matter of time. On to the start, finish straight they go. Better exit from the corner. I do sense actually the Ferrari just seems to punch a little bit better off that final corner. And any advantage the Porsche has is through the tighter corners, but the Ferrari in a straight line, look at it, it's lower, sleeker, wider, certainly wider, and what it is doing is they run side by side. That's providing a double toe for Hamaguchi, who closes right in the Lamborghini. Through turn 1, it's amazing how much the track drops down the slope there. And while Kimura is looking long and hard at seeing if he can fight back into turn 3 from Kusiri, he's trying to look forward and backward at the same time, trying to guess where Hamaguchi is in the Lamborghini, and the answer is right behind you. Possibly slightly invisible from time to time, but the black and orange Lamborghini is very, very much in the hunt. And while that's happening, a little bit of a gap back to 5th place, which is Satoshi Hoshino in the D-Station Racing Aston Martin, and then he too has got company. He's got Yamaguchi right on his tail. And that's Tomohide Yamaguchi. We heard before the race from Seijiara describing him as the gentleman driver. But then suddenly the Lamborghini has made its way through as well. Kimura he's not prepared to take any risk just to hold position. He knows he's got a brilliant teammate in Kei Cozzolino. Just started to slide a little bit wide. I think he's been a little bit rattled. So let's see if he's settling down. Mind you, wind your mind back to the opening lap of the race. And Kimura was being very, very cautious, not wanting to push his tyres too hard too soon on that yellow Ferrari, but it did start from pole. It led the opening lap. Then the blue Ferrari came through, and look how Yokomizo is pulling clear in that. No trouble at all. Last time around he was a second clear, this time around 1.7 seconds clear. But the difference is Kusiri is now free to challenge, free to chase. Likewise Hamaguchi behind him, he's got a second's advantage over Kimura in the Ferrari, just under a second actually. Quite a gap from 5th place, which is the Hoshino Aston Martin, back to those behind. And we've got a bit of a change here because Yamaguchi is suddenly falling right down the order. Yamaguchi in the BMW from Plus with BMW Team Studi has tumbled down to 12th position overall. Let's see what happened there in particular. And we've got the two Princes of Johor running in 6th and 7th position overall. They've both been elevated, of course, by the problem for the BMW. So it's 99 ahead of 888. So it's Prince Jeffrey Ibrahim, more experienced of the two, ahead of his younger brother, Prince Abu Bakr Ibrahim. Just looking for any change. Now I sense the place it's coming from. I'm glad we're looking at the number 19 Lamborghini because he's just banged in the fastest first sector of any driver of any lap so far in this race. We've got, and he's done the same in the second sector as well. So no wonder is the Lamborghini is closing in on the AAS Porsche. That's the one driven by Candide Kusiri. First, second, third, fourth, almost equally spaced. Pretty much back to 5th to Satoshi Hoshino in the Aston Martin. All eyes on the prize, that's the garage of Evo Racing, and they should have smiles as well because their car leading the race by 1.2 seconds. And actually what that tells you, last time around it was 0.3 of a second more than that, so first to second is coming down. Number 16, McLaren, the AWS Motorsport car, starting to make a few moves a little bit further back as well. Started by Koizumi Hiroshi, sharing with Keitasawa. Let's let you know who's leading in GT4. Well, it's Junchijiro in the orange car. Here it is, comes now. It's the Team Scala Mercedes. And he shares with Tetsuya Tanigawa, but it's Junchijiro who's been a real star in qualifying both here and at Suzuka in the previous round, the opening round of the Fanatec Japan Cup. Look, he's running ahead of one of the GT3 cars. That in itself is accolade enough. The one he's got behind him is the number 60 Team LM Corsa Ferrari, and that's with Kei Nakanishi at the wheel at the moment. Different ways they go about their performance, and at certain points that much larger rear wing, of course, you have far more downforce to give you that improved cornering. It doesn't... I love the way Jun Toshiro goes, well, you can take that cornering line. I can't, per se, but I'm going to keep giving it a go. But that was going through turn 6. By the time I'm through kinks of 7 and 8, the GT4 car being dropped very easily. Akiland Racing, the number 71 crew in their Supra, going very nicely indeed. That's second in class, and that's Takeshi, no, it's Masayoshi Oshima. But Jun Toshiro, very comfortable in the lead of the class. And third place in class, you see the blue nose of the car. It's the GTO Racing Team Mercedes with the driver from Taiwan, from Taipei, Brian Lee, at the wheel of that, long-time supporter of the assorted championship races here. First under the Blancpain GT Asia banner and now under Fanatec GT World Challenge Asia. Two McLarens together. The grey one in front from AWS Motorsports, the black and blue one from Team Uematsu in behind. So they're in 8th, 9th position. David Pun is next in line, just coming to the background, a shot in the Audi in the background, the Team X Works Audi. My sense is probably gaining a little bit because those in front are rather scrapping for position. Working their way up onto the start-finish straight through the final sequence of corners. There they go, 13, 14 now, turning into 15 now, which just leaves 16. There's turn 15, 16 is the final corner. It's uphill, goes through about 165 degrees, and then once they get onto the level, they sort of pop over a brow. Yeah, not yet, yeah. It's a bit like turn 3 at the Red Bull Ring, as it suddenly flattens at the top of the hill there, and then they accelerate down the start finish straight. In fact, that's not the top of the hill, that comes just about now as they go halfway down the start finish straight. Bit of a crest, and only when they get there can they see the run all the way down to the first corner. There's a change of position in behind. David Punn gaining a place in the Audi. He's on the left-hand side of the screen, trying to hide behind the graphics, being sneaky. But he's got just in front of the team Uematsu McLaren. You can sense the McLaren quicker in a straight line, that little bit sleeker, but by the time they got to turn 1, the move was completed. But actually, no one told the McLaren driver because he's fighting back very hard indeed. And that is team boss today at Uematsu. It's his team. But the move has been completed by the X-Works Audi. And the lead of the race, however, the lead has come down and come down and come down. It's under 2/3 of a second now. Last time around, Naoki Yokomitsu still leading in the Team Ugibo Ferrari, but down to 0.644 of a second over Katadi Kusiri in the AAS Motorsport Porsche. And Hiroshi Hamaguchi, though he has the fastest lap of the race under his belt, falling back a little bit. He's another 1.3 seconds back in third place. Gosh, Comet Racing GT4 Mercedes did the right thing to keep out of the way, but slowed so much. I think he saw the 4 cars come up. No, he slowed so much because I think he must have mechanical problems. It's good to keep out of the way in the GT3 runs, but however, his lack of pace as they came past suggests all is not right for him. That would be bad news indeed for Masai Fuji, who's running in 25th and last place. Right, first to second, 0.644 of a second becomes 0.607. The AAS Motorsport Porsche is getting closer and closer. And the gap back to another 10th of a second lost by Hiroshi Hamaguchi. He's another 1.3 seconds in arrears. So first 3 cars covered by 2 seconds. Turn 3, who has the advantage today? Yokomizo in the Ferrari? He ran a little bit wider. The Porsche seems to have the tyres, the grip, the handling at the moment. That is why Katadi Kusiri is closing in. Looking for his moment. He's seen a lot of the back of that Ferrari. He has halved the gap. In fact, more than that, it's a third of what it was. It was 1.8 seconds or thereabouts, and it came down to 1.2, and it's now down to 0.6 of a second. Another 10th of a second gained in the first sector of the lap by the Porsche. Don't forget, within that, he's got a bit of a toe down the start finish straight to close in a little bit on the Ferrari in the lead of the race. Then he's very, very good through the twisty bits. As soon as they get back onto the main straight, though, the Ferrari is sleeker. It's better in a straight line, and it pulls away. So it's a real game of nip and tuck, or it could be a game of how to use the traffic up in front of them. You can see them on the tail of. That's one of the 2 new BMW M2 CSRs, and that was the legal top racing entry car 101, joining the championship this weekend. And that's started by Yuji Takahashi, but there will be a slight problem when it comes to the driver change to Takuma Aoki, because former motorbike racer, of course, stopped his bike racing career when he was paralysed, lost the use of his legs. So he's in a wheelchair, getting in and out of a car for a driver change. Hard enough anyhow, but he has to do it from a wheelchair, so time will be lost. No time is being lost, though, in the chase for the lead. The first 2 cars are almost as one. Naoki Yokomizo still in the Ugibo Racing Ferrari, just in front of the number 18 AAS Motorsport Porsche. And again, look, Yokomizo just can't get through turn 3 without running wide. He's going to start getting penalties for that. Talking of penalties, he's getting warnings at the moment. Car number 5, drive-through penalty for causing a collision. That was at turn 10, and that is why Hiroshi Yamaguchi fell. One of the reasons he went down the order. Don't forget, he was running in 5th position in very early days, but suddenly in one lap went down. Didn't see the incident, but here is an incident that's worth watching. It's a battle for the lead of the race, and Yamaguchi's close behind in the Lamborghini. It's still, as they get to turn 10 at the bottom of the hill, the Ferrari leading the race, but he really is the hunted, because look how Katadi Kusiri having a fabulous race, nipping one way, going the other. But Hamaguchi's having a look as well in the Lamborghini. Hey, look at this. This is GT3 racing at its best. We've got 3 manufacturers in the first 3 positions. They're nip and tuck. They're ducking and diving, looking for any gap, but it's the Ferrari leading the way. Naoki Yokomizo at the wheel. Second place, Katadi Kasiri having a fantastic race, the Thai racer. And whenever they slow themselves down in their little tussle, the Lamborghini closes in. But as soon as they stop fighting tooth and nail for every metre of this circuit, then the Lamborghini drops back a little bit more, but he's almost close enough to get a bit of a toe down the start-finish straight. Don't forget, it's a super, super long start-finish straight here at Fuji Speedway. Plenty of time to get a toe. Plenty of time, too, for the race leader to take a look and go, oh, traffic up ahead, lap car I need to lap. And he's trying to get past the Bmw M4 CSR. That's running in the invitational class, new class of car here. First two cars get through. Will the door be left open into turn 3 for the Lamborghini to come through? Yes, it was. So well done to Yuji Takahashi, who kept out of the way. He's got his own battle to fight. The number 5 BMW comes in to serve its penalty, drive-through penalty in the pits for causing a collision. The pit window won't open until the clock at the top of your screen gets to 35 minutes remaining in the race. It's a clock that counts downwards from 1 hour. That's the race duration, and the pit stops must be served between when the clock at the top says 35 minutes to go to when it gets to 25 minutes to go. Now, just looking to see, is there going to be a rejoining of the battle, because getting past that BMW seemed to suddenly really help our race leader, Naoki Yokomizo in the Ferrari. Anthony Kusiri in second place just needs to consolidate his thoughts. Hiroshi Hamaguchi in the number 19 Lamborghini is sitting there, not looking able to challenge, but able to be there, you know, just in case some crumbs are offered from the main table. First, second and third, I think it's only 1.5 seconds covering all of them. Let's take a look. It's between first and second, it's almost precisely half a second. 1.1 seconds first through to third, so very evenly spaced. Don't forget, every time Hamaguchi gets an advantage there, he gets the toe off the back of the Porsche, which is getting the toe off the back of the Ferrari. He's using it very well to stay in the hunt. Having started first, fallen to second, fallen to third and fallen to fourth, there he is in the background, our pole starter Takeshi Kimura, running his own race. He's 5 and a bit seconds down on them, but he's got a good margin of exactly the same margin, 5.1 seconds, back to the Satoshi Hoshino driven Aston Martin in 5th place overall. Don't forget, 2-driver race, mandatory pit stop in the middle. With no disrespect at all to Takeshi Kimura, he is the less experienced driver in that car, and knows he's got a role to play because he's got a super hot shot in Kei Cozzolino, the Italian-Japanese racer, will be taking over for the second part of the race, and I would suggest not the second half, because Cozzolino normally does the lion's share. Being the faster driver, they try and maximise the amount of time he's in the car. So expect our race leader, unless I've gone mad or they've gone mad, to come in as soon as he possibly can in the number 27 Ferrari. Can't come in yet though, still another 4.5 minutes until the pit window opens. So car number 27, the Gt4 Racing Ferrari, looking fabulous in its bright blue livery with the yellow stripe. Better lap for him, he's opened out a bit of an advantage over Katadika Series Porsche, who actually is now starting to be pushed much harder by Hiroshi Hamaguchi. Almost 1.1 seconds first through to third place. And the next car, this leading trio, need to get past this gaggle of cars. Is the Akaland Racing number 71 Toyota Supra, which is running very well in the Gt4 class. Keeps out of the way nicely. This is a very good stint. I thought the time was going to be up for Naoki Yokomizo. He made his way brilliantly to the front of the race in the Gt4 Racing Ferrari, car number 27. Since then, just when all looked lost, the AWS Motorsport Porsche was going to come on through with Katadika Kasiri at the wheel. It didn't. The traffic was his friend, but since then he's settled right down. There is an element, if you drop a full second back, getting back close enough to get a tow, it's not easy. But as soon as you go the wrong side of a second in arrears, you're getting no tow. Up the hill they come through the twisters. What's up ahead? Comet Racing Mercedes. That's one that's been driven with real gentlemanly style, but actually backing off almost too much. That's Masaki Fuji. He's running stone last in this race. Keeps out of the way, but sometimes the drivers, as they come up, would want you to carry a bit more speed in the corner so you don't trip them up. Here's a view, the classic view, the Fuji Speedway view, down the start-finish straight, and it goes on and on and on. Don't forget, when the circuit was open, they didn't actually turn right at the point just as they go out the bottom of the screen. They carried on down the slope onto a bank turn that ran all the way, built into the mountainside. More of that later, because we've got racing action in behind. The D-Station Racing Aston Martin has finally lost 5th place. We've got number 99 Mercedes coming through, and that's Prince Jeffrey Ibrahim diving up the inside. So the progress hasn't been as fast as expected, but when I last looked, they were 6th and 7th. Now they're up to 5th and 7th. And the sister car just a little bit off the back of their battle in behind. In fact, quite a lot. The last 2 laps really dropped back. That's the younger of the Princes of Johor. That's Prince Abu Bakr. He's now 7 seconds off the tail of this battle. Bear in mind, of course, teammate of Prince Jeffrey Ibrahim, Nick Foster, leading the championship. Really quite comfortably after the first 2 races in Sepang, the second 2 races in Suzuka. That lead group still fighting so hard. 0.84 of a second between Yokomizo in the lead of the race and Hamaguchi in 3rd place in the Lamborghini. Don't forget, Kantadis Kusiri and his Porsche is between them as well. Right, looking at the pace of Prince Jeffrey Ibrahim, now he's got ahead of Satoshi Hashino, but he's a long way down, 7 and a bit seconds down on the CarGuy Racing Ferrari, but I really feel he's beaten. The cork is out of the bottle now. Jeffrey Ibrahim in the 99 Mercedes is going to press on. Right, 45 seconds, 40 seconds now, and then the pit window will be open for this group of cars next time around. And if anyone is the junior driver, the 2-driver pairing, the AM to the Pro, let's say, for example, they will be coming in. But if it's a driver pairing that's evenly matched, they'll probably do it around the half-hour mark. Right, there's been a collision between cars 16 and 2 at the first corner. That's the Team Uematsu McLaren, that's number 2, and the 16 McLaren of AWS Motorsports, started by Koizumi Hiroshi. Clash at turn 1 under investigation. Turn 1 is the classic corner for impact here. You think you've got enough speed, you've got enough tow down the start finish straight, you go for the inside. Going for the inside is precisely what Kantadin Kusiri was trying to do as they worked their way back up the slope. However, Naoki Yokomizo continues in the lead of the race. With Hiroshi Hamaguchi, he's the shadow, a black shadow. Every time I see a race at the Fuji Speedway in bright sunshine, I rejoice, because it can be a miserable place when it's in the hanging cloud, the rain coming down in sheets. But today, looking beautiful. Not too hot, which has been good. Very hot during the week, but very, very humid. And today, the humidity has taken a tumble, which everyone welcomes. Right, as soon as he possibly could, and that very was the first time of asking, Naoki Yokomizo dives into the pit lane. So the front runners to pit. That will have Kyoto Fujinami taking that over. Just looking to see what sort of lap time Kantadin Kusiri can achieve without chasing and trying to dive up the inside to take the lead from the Ferrari that's static in the pit lane. So our new race leader, Kantadin Kusiri. And I think the phrase et al. Can be used, because it seems that a large number of cars are diving. In fact, I'd say we've probably got 2/3 of the field have come in on this lap, therefore at the earliest instance. Our GT4 leader diving in, that's Jun Toshiro. I tell you what, I would have kept him in the car because he was going so well. But Team Scala have obviously got a plan, and Tatsuya Tanigawa will be taking over. Fastest lap of the race still in the hands of Hiroshi Hamaguchi when he was concentrating on his pace rather than having to fight with anybody else. And that's a 1 minute 42.279 second lap. Now, that's what happens. That's what happens when your car is full with fuel. So that lap was set early in the race. Don't forget, though, we saw them down into the 1 minute 38 in qualifying. So it just shows how on a light fuel load with rubber that's only got to do a small job, or a job over a short period of time, then you can really, really go for it. But here it's been busy in the traffic as well. So, driver change effected and back out onto the circuit. That means he'll be coming out around 10th, no, probably a bit further down than that. But anyhow, the Gt4 Racing Ferrari in the hands of Kyoto Fujinami. But as he is also silver ranked, just like Naoki Yokomizo, they run in the sort of senior class of GT3. As beneath that, we've got Pro-Am for driver corrects, of which one is a pro and one is, you know, say with a bronze ranked international license. And then of course you've got AM, where you have two drivers with bronze licenses. Cars continuing to come in and out. That's the number 7 Comet Racing Honda NSX. A story in its own right, by not just for winning the second of the 2 races at Suzuka, helped in enormous measure by the safety cars, but also winning with an all-AM crew. So 2 bronze drivers. I'm just talking about the rankings. Yet they were there. Freak result, but they grabbed it from Comet Racing. That's Shinji Nakano's team. Remember him? Did a bit of IndyCar, a bit of Formula 1. Came back home and set up Comet Racing. They're running cars both in GT3 and GT4, so busy weekend for them. Just double checking for any extra penalties. I've probably missed a few at the bottom of the timing screen. Busy old place to be looking. So I guess the matter is, when will Kantadi Kusuri come in from the lead for AWS Motorsport, and will Hiroshi Hamaguchi stay out as long as he possibly can? Right, here's the GTC. Right, been a brilliant start to the race from Gt4 Racing, and Amy has been very quick to get down to speak with the driver who took it to the front, Naoki Yokomizo.
So I'm in the pits of car number 27, 横溝選手、序盤から追い上げまして、トップに立ってからずっと後ろからのプレッシャー与えてきました。いかがでしたか？
序盤はすごくいい感じだったんですけど、やっぱこの予選後、レース前にちょっとフェラーリ勢ターボのブースト落とされたりとか、我々としてはシルバークラス含めて45キロウエイト乗せちゃってたんで、それがすごい効いちゃって、やっぱりその予選のようにはいかなかったですね。ただやっぱり今回リベンジのラウンド、富士ラウンドなんで、なんとかそこはメンタルで耐えたって感じですね。
あとはもう藤波選手を見守るだけですね。
そうですね、多少ちょっとトラブルもあるんですけど、藤波選手に耐えてもらいたいと思います。
走行お疲れ様でした。ゆっくり休んでください。So they have been restricted on the BOP a little bit after the qualifying, and that was a little bit of a struggle. However, they have been unlucky a few times during the season, so they want to push hard. At the beginning it was nice, but they also have some troubles apparently, so let's see what Fujinami Senshu can do for the team. Back to you, Bruce.
Thank you very, very much indeed, Amy. Well, great to hear. Interesting about the balance of performance. It can be adjusted at any point during the course of the season. The Ferraris have been looking very, very strong in qualifying form, so you can be sure they probably needed to be reined back that little bit. Talking of Ferraris, you can see Gt4 Racing car 27 in the background. There you can see the treble 7 car that was on pole. Takeshi Kimura fell back to, well, down the order somewhat from leading away in the opening lap, and already looks like he's about to set on his first flying lap, the fastest lap of the race so far. Kei Kozolino is closing in. Yes, he has set the fastest lap of the race on his first flyer. So even with the balanced performance rebalancing there, there is no stopping the CarGuy Racing Ferrari. Now, how do you like your Mercedes? Dark blue with silver flashes? Well, we can give you not one, we can give you 2. Diving past, in fact, on either side. That's the Comet Racing. Yes, it's the Comet Racing GT4 Mercedes. That was a bit of a scary moment as Yasemin Jafar and Nick Foster in 888 and 99 respectively. So it is Foss just in front of Yasemin Jafar, really showing they might be teammates, but there wasn't a nanosecond to be lost, and Nick Foster is all about business. He's the championship leader, and around the middle part of the lap, but he's starting to pull away a little bit from Jasmine. But the cars, if ever you've been trackside with the GT3 Mercedes AMG coming through, it is the most fantastic rumbling engine note. Real sort of raw. Not as hard-edged as the sort of bark of a Porsche. One of my favourite engine notes, really, really mellifluous. So the drivers who didn't pit last time around are in this time around. Cantini Kusiri driven really well, held the lead, but only after the Yagiba Racing Ferrari came in. It wasn't for want of trying, but the car's back on the track, and the number 18 Porsche that Kusiri started in now in the hands of Tanart Safi and Thirakul. That will be going well. And Hiroshi Hamaguchi will have handed over the number 19 B-Max Engineering Lamborghini to Mineki Okura. Look, there just simply is no stopping Kei Cosolino. Of course, the 18 Porsche has just come out of the pits, just driver and tyres getting up to temperature, but Cosolino just wasn't waiting. He's already been out for several laps, and he's really, really flying. Now, it's a question of what Safi and Thirakul can do. There he is in the 18 Porsche. He's had some great runs, particularly in Porsches, over recent years, and let's see if once he gets his tyres up to temperature, can start to chase off after Cosolino. Double checking, everyone has served their pit stops. They could come in this last time around, but it looks as though none will need to. In fact, I'll tell you what, I just have to have a look at 2 pit visits. Oh dear, the Lamborghini having just gone back out of the pits, and I've just mentioning the name of Mineki Okura. Something remiss. Now, is that car? I can't tell if the car's wobbling because it's run wide, it's got pickup on its tyres, or is one of those tyres punctured, but certainly Okura's decided there's a problem with the car, get it out of the way. So that's down at turn 6. You can see the circuit restaurant up above. Fantastic place to sit, eat some fine food and look out across the track. But right now, Mineki Okura would be very pleased if they weren't looking down at his car. So, as the order settles down, I expect car number 27 to be back in the lead of the race for Yibo Racing. Yes, it is the GTO Racing Mercedes between his Ferrari and the second one in line, Kei Cosolino. Cosolino closing in. Yes, he is, because he just set the fastest lap of the race to improve on his previous lap. It was also fastest lap of the race. 2.9 seconds is the gap. He is behind the race-leading Yagiba Racing Ferrari, but on the last lap alone, he managed to find 1.2 seconds from the race leader. It's a matter of time. Tanart Safi and Thirakul in the number 18 Porsche. No challenges behind. What's the gap? 2.3 seconds is his gap to Kei Cosolino. Cosolino is pulling away. Now, one of the stars in the opening section of the race was Cantini Kusiri. He's handed over the number 18 Porsche, and he is down in the pit lane at the moment, watching on as Tanart Safi and Thirakul gets going. He's down with Amy.
So here we are in the box of car number 18 with Kusiri. He just finished his stint. Amazing battling. You pushed so hard. How was it?
It's quite tough because the local driver, they are so fast. But I try to do my best, and yeah, but finish stint with P2 it's not bad. It's not bad.
Did you tell something to your partner when you switched?
Oh, we have no time to say anything, but I know he gonna did a good job, so for sure.
Right.
So no worries.
So good luck to him. Let's keep on praying. Back to you, Bruce.
Thanks very much. So here's the AAS Motorsport Porsche coming down the long start-finish straight in 3rd position overall. He's now 5 and a bit seconds down on Cosolino, because Cosolino had done another fastest lap of the race. He's only 1.1 seconds down. Here come the 2 Ferraris in the same shot as they were at the start of the race. Don't forget the yellow car from CarGuy Racing started on pole. The Yagiba Racing car, the pale blue one, started from 2nd. The order was swapped. Naoki Yokomizo put Yagiba Racing in front, but now Kei Cosolino could be about to put a smile on the face of his teammate Takeshi Kimura, because he's closing, and you do feel the deal will be done. There's still 23 minutes remaining in this race. There is no way the order is going to stay as it is. Cosolino is a driver who is absolutely flying. brilliant on Japanese circuits. Of course, all his racing has been done here. Half Italian, his father was Italian, his mother was Japanese, but it doesn't seem to matter. Rain or shine, he is on top of any circuit when he's in a Ferrari, particularly in Japan. Fujinami doing a good job. He's basically saying you have to come around the outside of me, the long way round if you want to take the lead, but looking inside, looking outside, but well, Cozzolino can put his Ferrari wherever he wants. Now, final corner of the lap, turn 16. He's got his nose up the inside. He could have waited, sat in the toe, but his advantage in his performance is the way he can exploit whatever grip he can find from his Pirelli tyres is so great. A moment for one of the BMWs. It's bad enough you look in your mirror, you see a car approaching, then you realise as they splinter around you. There were two, so one either side, but the lead back in the hands of the pole starting car. But the door half open and it's going to swap back again. Is it? Has Cozzolino got enough space on the outside to keep Fujinami behind him? Just about, but good to see Fujinami going, you know what, I'm not quite beaten yet. Got past, but I'm going to keep you on your toes. Right, turn 3. Both of them staying just about... Oh, no, not at all. Ugibo Racing's Fujinami off the circuit. He will get a warning for that one. One warning thing I can see on the timing screen is says pit stop time under investigation. It doesn't say for whom. So keep out, because you always have to keep looking at the timing screen, because you get messages of things that can change the face of the race. Anybody gets suddenly picks up a drive-through penalty for a misdemeanor, being under the minimum pit stop time, for example, it just throws away all the good they've done. Every corner they've managed to trim 1/10 of a second. All the gain gets chucked out the window. Okay, Cozzolino is in another class in this Ferrari for CarGuy Racing in this race. He's just, it was super easy for him to catch and pass Fujinami, and since he got ahead of Ugibo Racing, well, we're going to have another 20 minutes of this in which he'll pull ever further clear. Just looking to see what the gap will be this time around. How much has he gained on the lap since he took the lead? It was 0.1 of a second last time. It's 1.3 seconds to good. So at will, okay, Cozzolino can pull out 1.2 seconds just like that. Takeshi Kimura, well, as we heard, it's been hot in those cockpits, but doesn't matter if your car's leading the race. You've done your job, and obviously looking forward to tomorrow. But right now, there's always that moment for drivers when they go, there's nothing I can do. Sometimes it's frustrating, but at this point, when there's nothing I can do, and the driver who's taken over is even faster than I am, and he's pulling clear from the field, well, that's a very nice place to be. Just looking so comfortable, Cozzolino. He rides the curbs just the sort of right amount. He's not hanging it out over the edge. He's got the car to perform, to handle the way he wants it. You can see the precision just going out, putting his left-hand wheels on the white line. That's into turn 10, lowest point on the circuit. Through 11 and 12 they go. Driver and machine in harmony and pulling ever further clear. Right, Tanart Sathian Thirikul in 3rd place overall. What's his lap time relative to... He's identical lap times to Fujinami. To Kyoto Fujinami in the 2nd place Ferrari, the one we're looking at the moment, car number 27. Now, can Sathian Thirikul in the remaining 19 minutes or so start to close? The gap between them is quite large, 6 seconds, but much smaller than the gap back to the Aston Martin in 4th place overall, because Tomonobu Fuji is another 17 seconds back. He's got company. He's got Nick Foster on the charge. That's the championship leader. We'll look for that battle, because certainly the 99 Mercedes is starting to make strides. There is that battle. Aston Martin, 2 dark cars together, 2 cars that make a most fantastic rumble, but the Australian driver in behind the Japanese driver. Oh, Fuji in a lot of championship races is the hunter, but today he's the hunted. Down the start-finish straight. Look as though there's just one car by the pit wall, but look carefully, there are two rear wings, 2 sets of wing mirrors. That's all you can see as they came into the first corner. Now, wide in, tight out, that's probably the margin that Nick Foster's looking for. He should be just about in front through the sweep at turn 2. He's not in front, he's absolutely alongside. He's on the outside line for turn 3. Deep breath. Is he going to brave it out? Is he going to brave it out? Is Fuji going to have to back off? Yes, he is. Ooh, Foster's got to watch that. He's moved up a position, but he had very nearly all 4 tyres beyond the white line. He didn't though, so he's okay. So Foster up into 4th position. Right, next target, a long way up the track, as I said. Ooh, 17 seconds up the track. I should say with 17 minutes left on the clock, that means it's as far as Foster can go. And to be honest, I can't see much changing in the top positions. I think Cozzolino, well, he's now 2 and a bit, 2.8 seconds to good, so he's pulling clear. Fujinami, Sati and Thirical, well, bit by bit, he's catching a 2nd place Ferrari, but it's going to be a big ask. Right, let's tell you what is happening in the GT4 class, and it's car number 12 leading the way. Bushido Racing have taken the front of the class. And car number 12, that's driven in the 2nd part of the race by Katsuyuki Hiranaka, took over from Motoharu Sato. And looking really comfortable there. Except, of course, I didn't read the timing screen properly. I was just looking to see what happened to the Team Scala Mercedes. My eyes have focused properly. I've seen that that is actually leading the class by a fairly okay margin. And it's Tanigawa at the wheel. That's Jun Toshiro started that. It's now Tatsuya Tanigawa. Apologies there. 2nd place was Hiranaka. 1st place, Tanigawa. Busy old place down the start-finish straight. Of course, the GT3 drivers just have the greater performance when it goes to cornering, but in a straight line with the smaller wings, the less obvious wings, the GT4 cars are pretty potent. Here is our class leader in GT4, 15th place overall, and looking really very comfortable indeed. Jun Toshiro being fantastic in qualifying, and Tatsuya Tanigawa doing a very good job indeed. What he doesn't need is to get caught up with the McLaren trying to come through. That's the one from AWS Motorsport, number 16, which is running actually behind, way down the order, Keita Sawa. Yeah, well, Keita's going to pick everybody off in front of him, so no problem at all getting past the GT4 Mercedes. But look how much Akidan Racing, the red and black Toyota Supra, is closing in behind. CarGuy Racing got the race under control. Yagibo Racing, you could say that there's been no change in the order. The first 3 cars on the grid are running in exactly the same order at this point in the race, but I guess as Kei Cozzolino pulls ever further clear for CarGuy Racing, the driver in 3rd place, Anart Sati and Thirical, is starting to close in on Kyoto Fujinami. There he is. All-tie driver lineup. We heard from Kantadi Kasiri, and now Tanart Sati and Thirical pushing. He's now 4.1 seconds in a rear. Last time around he took 1.5 seconds off the number 27 Ferrari driven by Kyoto Fujinami. At that rate of gain there will be a change for 2nd place. But can he do it lap after lap? Was Fujinami blocked by anyone in the Yagibo Racing Ferrari? Hard to tell, but undeniably around the course of this lap, actually they're lapping fairly similar times. So actually every lap that he doesn't suddenly lose a whole lot of time is closer to the end of the 1-hour race. So maybe, just maybe, Kyoto Fujinami can hang on the whole way to the end of this race. Let's see. But one thing of which there is no doubt, barring mechanical maladies, is that Kei Cozzolino in the 777 Ferrari from CarGuy Racing is in a very, very strong position. 6.7 seconds to good last time around, and you can be sure around this lap, yeah, he's pulled even more of an advantage. So Cozzolino pulling away. Here comes a AWS Motorsport Porsche to see how much. Oh, a better lap in 2nd place for Fujinami. Well, a few thousandths of a second gained. It's almost 4 minutes flat now. The gap between 1st and 2nd. Right, change of position in the GT4 class. And the Bushido Racing Toyota gets past Tanigawa in the Team Scala Motorsport Mercedes. Nice and neat and tidy. Red Toyota just in front of orange Mercedes. Nothing that Tanigawa could do about that, because certainly Katsuyuki Hironaka looking very good the way he caught him, and not only caught him, but then just passed very cleanly. And it really does actually add to the mix having the GT4 cars as well. They've got their own battle, but they know full well they have to sort of get out of the way when the GT3 runners are coming through, which can break up their pattern that little bit. And then they have to sort of settle down and do it all over again. Right, having got past Tomonobu Fuji's Aston Martin, Nick Foster in the 99 Mercedes has gained already 2 seconds and more, going out all the time. What's his gap? He's 14.5 seconds back on Tanat Sapien Thiracal, lapping faster than they are, but in fact lapping as fast as the race leader, Nick Foster, and his sister car. Jasmine Jafar is now getting close to the tail of that D-Station Racing Aston Martin. Aston Martin's still in 5th place, but it is a case of double trouble. Nick Foster came past in the 99 Mercedes, now the sister car, the Treble 8, is getting closer and closer. You'd say that's close enough to get a tow, half a tow if you can gain another car length. Then he'll really get a tow, maybe next time around, but anyhow, they'll still be gaining some advantage from Jasmine Jafar's tow down the start-finish straight. Jafar, yeah, he's down to, next time around, if he doesn't make a move even earlier than that in the Mercedes, he should get a fantastic tow down the start-finish straight. And in behind, just noticing that Yuta Kamimura is getting closer and closer in the bright reddy-orange Porsche from Porsche Center Okazaki. Okay, Cozzolino, well, we've got 11 minutes out of the hour still to run. He's sitting on an advantage of 8.1 seconds. Every lap it goes out over Kyoto Fujinami in the second of the Ferraris. Not run by the same team. This is CarGuy Racing leading the race, and second place, car number 27. Ferrari is entered by Yagibo Racing. CarGuy Racing with many, many years of experience, both home and abroad. Okay, what's the gap first to second? It was 8.1 seconds. This time around, still having to wait for Yagibo Racing. They're watching from the pit wall. 8.6 seconds, another half second gained by our race leader. But what's the gap from second to third? 4.7 seconds. In fact, a much better lap there from Kyoto Fujinami. So he's sort of repelling the Porsche. It's not close enough to start diving up the inside of the corners. It's 4 and a bit seconds in arrears. But I would reckon with 10 minutes to go, the rate of gain has actually gone away a little bit. The traffic wasn't very kind last time around to Sapien Thiracal in the Porsche. Sometimes it goes your way, other laps it doesn't. But certainly there were times it looked as though he was going to be hauling in the second place Ferrari. Now it doesn't look that way anymore. It's worth pointing out, of course, that Kate Cozzolino is the pro in the Treble 7 Ferrari, and Takeshi Kimura is the AM, but they are a Pro-Am lineup, and they're leading the race ahead of 2 Pro entries. And the second of the Pro-Am crews is the one in 4th place overall. Nick Foster is the pro in that 99 Mercedes, and Prince Jeffrey Ibrahim is the AM. So you've got these balances. And that's why generally if you have a Pro-Am lineup, you give your pro as much driving as you possibly can. If your AM starts the race, they will have the shortest possible first stint to give the maximum amount of track time to their quicker teammate. It only makes sense. Okay, Cozzolino coming up to lap the AMAC Motorsport Porsche. And that's Ben Porter at the wheel of that in 12th place overall. Shows the pace of the race leading cars if they can lap drivers up to 12th place overall. Hasn't happened yet, but it will fairly shortly as they turn into turn 2. Cozzolino getting closer and closer to the Aussie in front. And that's Ben Porter, who took over from Andrew McPherson. Well, very well driven by Ben Porter there. No point in delaying the race-leading Ferrari, and also no point in doing anything silly, because it's not as though if he just loses half a second, it's going to take him off the tail of the car in front, because the car in front is really quite some way distant. So it's all at this stage in the race, under 8 minutes remaining to just bring the car home. And the driver who's lapping fastest of all at the moment is the driver in fourth place, Nick Foster, lapping faster even the driver of the 777 Ferrari from CarGuy Racing. Kay Cozzolino last time around 1 minute 41.7 seconds. And Nick Foster in fourth place 1 minute 40.8, so 9/10 of a second faster. In fact, he's still some distance off the fastest lap of the race. That's still in the hands of Kay Cozzolino. His first flying lap after pit stop, banged in a 1 minute 40.1. Always at this point in the race, you look to see are the gaggles of cars up ahead, but with an advantage that's probably getting close to 10 seconds over Kyoto Fujinami in that Yaghibo Racing Ferrari. You know, no problem at all. Well, 9.875 seconds. I think we can call that pretty much 10 seconds. Looking at Tanart Sathyanthirikul is 6.1 seconds. So close in at the start of this stint after taking over from Katadika Kasiri, but is now just falling back little by little. Nick Foster 8.1 seconds behind him, again faster than the race leader, so Foster closing in, but I'm afraid with 6.5 minutes remaining in this 1 hour race, the clock is not Foster's friend. Maybe he's going to have to settle fourth place, but you know what, don't tell him that. Let's see what he can do. Ooh, Audi and McLaren down the start-finish row. That is definitely close enough to get a good tow. Sean Thong in the Audi, I was going to see behind him, but now alongside him. Car 16 being pedalled super hard. Is there going to be a place change? Is there not? Keita Sawa. In fact, Sawa is a lap down. I'm trying to work out why exactly he is a lap down, but he's only in 15th place. Of course, well, I haven't seen what the problem was. We saw the number 5 BMW had a drive-through penalty. That moved that from the record and it dropped it down the order. However, in fact, the number 5 BMW is in the pits. I've just had a notice. Seiji Ara, Le Mans winner in 2004, in the pits. Also in the pits is the number 101 BMW that has Takuma Aoki at the wheel of that. And of course, the other car we lost was that number 19 Lamborghini, driven so well by Hiroshi Hamaguchi in the first part of the race, and as soon as it was taken over by Mineki Akura, we saw it pull off 6 corners into the lap, so really unfortunate for them. Didn't see what the mechanical malaise was, however. Driver of the number 56 BMW keeps out of the way very nicely indeed. That was Takashi Kochiya. At this point, late stage in the race, no point being in the way of anybody, particularly if they're in a GT3 car and you're in a GT4. You're fighting for different podiums and for different points. And Jasmine Jafar getting a bit of a battle, and unfortunately for him, losing a position to Yuta Kamimura, so the orange Porsche working its way up to 5th place overall. But for CarGuy Racing, for Kay Cozzolino, 10.7 seconds clear last time around, clear of the fellow Ferrari driver, that's Kyoto Fujinami. Fujinami's got to keep an eye on his mirrors, or has he? No, he hasn't. He's got the better of that, better of the battle for third place. Tanart Sathyanthirikul could do nothing about him. The latter half of his stint, the Thai driver's stint, has not been as good as the first part, where he was looking very good indeed. Did he push too hard too soon? Well, it's hard to say. And Nick Foster continues to hunt him down, though. What have we got? Under 4 minutes. It's not going to be enough time left in this race, surely, for Nick Foster to close in. He's closing all the time. He's down to 6.5 seconds in arrears, but I think that would be a major miracle. A, for Foster to catch him. B, for him to pass. So I'd say Foster's going to end up just off the podium. But let's not count those chickens. We're safe. The battle at the front of the race is well and truly sorted, because it's Ferrari on Ferrari. Kay Cozzolino now best part of 11 seconds clear. The 27 Ferrari from Yaghibo Racing still scoring a very, very good handful of points. GT4 though, it has changed. We've got the red CarGuy Racing Toyota in the lead, as we said a while ago, just pulled ahead of the orange Team Scarlet Mercedes. The gap between them is not enormous. It has gone out to 5 seconds though, so it really has been a very good run for CarGuy Racing. Any further changes, everybody flashing their lights at the same time, but coming through in second place, increasingly safe in second place, CarGuy Racing, Ferrari. But now the Porsche is diving through past the Comet Racing Honda that was the shock winner in the second of the 2 races last weekend at Suzuka. Running in the same class of cars, but the same class of driver lineup. No, they're not, and that is why the AWS Motorsport Porsche has pulled clear so easily, but I think he knows full well that his challenge is in vain for second place. But keep on going they will. Okay, Cozzolino, another lap on the board. That's 33 laps on the board. 2 minutes remain. And his lead is probably about a dozen seconds. 12.004 seconds. That's what I call about a dozen seconds. Looking for any chink in the armour, none whatsoever. The pace has backed off from the race lead. There's no point in taking any risks whatsoever. Right, the GT4 lead, I've just got a note, had a 1 minute stop and go penalty. That is why the order had changed. And that was Kamigawa. Now Hironaka in the lead by nearly 8 seconds in the GT4 class. There is the GT4 class lead. And the driver second in the race, second car in the shot, the bright pale blue, it's sort of turquoise coloured Ferrari. Looking one way, looking another. If this race is being sorted by 1/10 of a second, at the end of the race he'd be a little upset. Didn't read that traffic very well with the class here in GT4. But it matters not, because he's at a certain distance. He's 12 seconds down on the race leader, but importantly for him, the gap back to third place, it came down to about 4 seconds, and it's gone out to 8. Going on to the final lap, however, is the race leader, who's probably going to be 13 seconds clear. Doesn't matter, he can back off almost half the length of the start-finish straight. Looking in the background to even see the next Ferrari in line, the car second in this race. Now it costs just under 13 seconds is the gap between them. Turn 2 negotiated by CarGuy Racing, by Kei Cozzolino. 16 turns in all, so it's almost, once he's got through turns 3, he's now gone past the first timing sector into the second third of the lap. It's looking easy. Looking up ahead of him, clear track, just what you want. Fewer elements, back markers, call them what you will, that could get in the path of this Ferrari. So Takeshi Kimura will be getting probably prepared out of his deck chair. We saw him having a cooling drink in the pit garage. He'll be getting up and walking across, most likely up onto the pit wall to cheer his teammate through. Now, incident under at turn 13. That's one of the twisty corners as you come back up the slope towards the end of the lap. Under investigation. No clue as to which cars were involved in that. In fact, it's the very next corner that will be negotiated by our race leader, Cozzolino. There is turn 13. Nothing can be seen in front. That just leaves him the last 3 corners. 14 crested, no problem. Turning into 15, wait for it now. And then just a big sweep up the hill, over the brow, onto the start-finish straight, and it will be victory in the bag for CarGuy Racing. They won the opening race in very different circumstances last weekend at Suzuka, but today this was in the dry, perfect track conditions. The car fell down from pole position, dropped down the order somewhat, but as soon as Kei Cozzolino got on board, he banged in the fastest lap of the race, and he's shedding a few seconds here or there by weaving, but that's a weave of happiness. Crosses the start-finish line. There is Takeshi Kimura up on the pit wall, very, very happy indeed. And their Japan Cup hopes have really taken a swing there. That was a great, great race. And second place, also in a Ferrari, also flashing lights, but is, of course, CarGuy Racing. That's Kyoto Fujinami in third place. It's just the Porsche, or is it both lights flashing? Because look, the Mercedes has closed right in behind, and at the end, 1.1 seconds was all Tanart, Sathi and Thirikul could hang on to as Nick Foster closed in, caught, very nearly caught, but just didn't get the chance to pass. 5th place will go to Yuta Kamimura, just off the bottom of the screen, the number 30 Porsche. 6th place will go to the sister 888 car, the number 888 to Jasmine Jafar. But our race leader, well, there's no question about that. CarGuy Racing started on pole position by Takeshi Kimura and finished in fantastic style by Kei Kozzolino. So he won in the wet, turning dry at Suzuka. He's won in the dry, getting drier still. But also for the victors for 777, that means they win the Pro-Am class as well. 2nd place in the Pro-Am class is Nick Foster, who came home in 4th place overall. 3rd place in the GT3 Pro-Am goes to Yuta Kamimura, who came home 5th. And the leading GT3 AM runner should be car. Just taking a look down the order. Aha, it's Uchida, the number 2. Team Uematsu McLaren we saw going better and better. But in GT4, it was definitely Katsuki Hironaka who brought it home at the finish for Kashido Racing. Very, very good indeed. That's car number 12. So, what a race. If you're a fan of Ferraris, it's looking very, very good indeed for you, because that was a very impressive afternoon. And we heard during the midway point in the race, Amy caught up with Yuta Kamimura, who talked about the BOP having changed. Or was that before the start of the race? I begin to forget at this point. But job well done for CarGuy Racing, parking almost immediately by Commercial Talks, actually, under the Yagibo arch. They finished the day before the rest, just waiting for the Yagibo Racing Ferrari to come in 2nd place. Here it comes. Such was the advantage. 13.5 seconds was the margin at the end of the race. That was a masterclass from Kei Kozzolino in particular in that. And also we have a new class this weekend. We've got the GTC class, and by dint of driving in it, they also won it, the 666 crew, and that was the Porsche Cup class car, Banksy, joined by Shinji Takai, so we'll see them up on the podium. So, what a fun race. We had some great chasing, and drivers going too hard too soon on their tyres, and others having to be cautious to start with, and therefore being caught and then extend their legs a little later and work their way through to the finish. But good fun and a great circuit on which to go racing. Space to race, and for all concerned, I think that was very good fun indeed. But for CarGuy Racing, that was a masterclass, and they'll be looking forward to tomorrow, because you know what? They're on pole again. But of course, the driver that went 2nd today, Kozzolino, will be the driver who goes 1st in the Sunday race. Then he will probably run the longest stint he can before handing over just before the pit stop when it closes to do the race. But let's go down, because Amy has already caught up with our winners. Takeshi Kimura, who started, and Kei Kozzolino, who brought it home 13 seconds to the good. Amy.
So here I have the winners of day 1. It's a pole to win. Car number 777, CarGuy Racing, Takeshi Kimura and Kei Kozzolino. Congratulations! So first of all, Kei, what is this? Despite the BOP, the extra weight, you were cruising on your stint.
I mean, it's not really about the BOP. I think we've proven it. It's a lot of effort of over many years with driving the Ferrari. We drove the WEC, ELMS. He's actually participating in the European Le Mans Series. We've collaborated with AF Corsa, Kessel Racing, all the major Ferrari teams and drivers. So the amount of data, the amount of money we invest in this car is, no offense to other Ferrari cars, but it's 4 times even more. So I think we've proven the speed. Us drivers, I think we did a good job. He did an amazing job, really, against pro drivers, especially the start. I couldn't believe it. He took P1 in the first corner, so it was a perfect race, I think. Yeah, thanks.
Amazing racing. Congratulations again. Kimura-san, それは涙でしょうか？
いやいや、汗です。暑くて、結構暑いんですよ、レース終わった後も。 だからまあちょっと暑いなと思って。
でもね初めてのポールスタートだったと思うんですけれども、無事たすきをねつないでこう今日は落としてもいいかなって初めおっしゃってたじゃないですか。それを無事ポールトゥウィン、素晴らしい成績です。
いやもう本当にチームともうKのおかげでこういうすごくアメージングなレース結果を残せてすごくハッピーです。
本当に改めておめでとうございました。So first of all, I asked whether these are tears of joy, but no, apparently it's just sweat. Which one do you believe? But yes, he's very happy. At the beginning, he didn't see this coming, but they really tried hard. So this is their achievement, and they're really, really happy. Back to you, Bruce.
Thank you very, very much, Amy. Interesting there. I think they were probably tears of joy, but I certainly understand it's pretty warm out there. But I think he was very, very sensible, Takeshi Kimura's. Let's take a look at the highlights and see how it unfolded. Takeshi started on pole. Let's hear how it worked for him. The flags were waving on the grid. A little blow down the straight, but it was a warm place with the two Ferraris on the front row. The yellow CarGuy Racing with Takeshi Kimura on the left-hand side of the screen from pole, alongside him Naoki Yokomizo, and into the first corner easily in front. 2-3 car lengths clear as Yokomizo was challenged by Kantadi Kusiri, who tucked the AAS Porsche up the inside but didn't quite get properly alongside, so he fell back into third position, or more to the point, didn't move into second, but every one of the cars got through the first corner without trouble. But then a lap later, Naoki Yokomizo, the more experienced driver, diving up the inside, and the good thing there, Takeshi Kimura didn't make it too difficult. He knew Yokomizo was faster, was going to come through. Made it a little harder for the Porsche driver though. Kantadi Kusiri had to pick and choose his moment, and while that was happening, of course, leading ever further clear, CarGuy Racing getting away. CarGuy Racing falling ever further back as Gt4 Racing pulled ever further clear, and then we had the Lamborghini coming through, Hiroshi Hamaguchi picking his moment and also diving past CarGuy Racing Ferrari. The pit stop started, everyone dived back out onto the circuit. It didn't come in all on the same lap though, so it was a question of how they would slot together. The Porsche stayed out front, but then once the driver change was made, the race again of Kei Cozzolino, who took over the CarGuy Racing Ferrari, was phenomenal. Tanat Sathi and Tiracle had no answer for him whatsoever. Then it was a case of hunting down the second Gt4 Racing Ferrari driver, that's Kyoto Fujinami. Cozzolino looked one way, looked another, had all the pace, and once the move was put down like that, there was nothing that could be done. Into the lead of the race, and Fujinami had to accept second place. He fought back for a moment to try and use the slipstream either side of an invitation class BMW on the start finish straight, but it wasn't enough. And then the driver who was doing the racing and the chasing was Nick Foster around the outside of Tomonobu Fuji and the D-Station Racing Aston Martin. That was a move that was not to be repelled. So the next target was the next position up the order for the championship leader, and through no lack of trying, Foster got very, very close to Sathi Thiracle, ended up just a fraction of a second short. But for CarGuy Racing, it was a second win of the season, a second win of the Fanatec Japan Cup, and Kei Cozzolino could back it off and still win by 13.5 seconds. Huge, huge happiness. And Takeshi Kimura, jumping up on the pit wall, was absolutely delighted with the afternoon's race. You know what? They're going to try and do it again tomorrow. So, cheers and delights. Let's take a look at the results. And we know CarGuy Racing won. Let's take a look at the results to show them by just how much they won. It was 13.5 seconds at the end. 13.515 seconds over the Gt4 Racing Ferrari. So CarGuy Racing from Gt4 Racing Ferrari. And then we had AAS Motorsport, Kantadi Kusiri, who started Tanat Sathi and Thiracle. They were being hunted down at the end and just prevailed from Prince Jeffrey Ibrahim and the chasing Nick Foster. And then also coming through very nicely was Yuta Kamamura at the end of the race in the number 30 Porsche. And Jasmine Jafar and Prince Abubakar Ibrahim finishing just a fraction behind them in 6th place overall. So a dominant win for CarGuy Racing. But it's time now to head down the pit lane to the Podium Ceremony, and we are going to see how it stands. We've got some happy faces going up there. The track is being swept, but the pit lane is a busy place. Many people down below the podium as the music rings out. So here we go with the first podium ceremony. We've got 5 podium ceremonies coming up because we've got GT3 Pro-Am, we've got GT3 Am, GT4 Silver Am, and GT4 Am, with a bit of GTC thrown in for good effect. So 3, 2, 1 should be the driver orders as they come out. So the Porsche crew, Cantadi Kusiri and Tanart Satyanthirakul, coming out for third place for AAS Motorsport. Good run from them, just prevailing in third place. And in second place, it's Shigibo Racing, Naoki Yokomizu and Kyoto Fujinami. And we've heard from them already, but they'll still be smiling. For CarGuy Racing, it's a very, very good win for them. For Takeshi Kimura, who started, and Kei Kozzolino, Kei coming out in second place. And they're up onto the top step of the podium, standing in front of some great big Yagibo. Oh, you see, you do all the hard work, you get the Yagibo beanbag. Very stylish indeed. They do deserve a rest after that. So the trophies coming out. Will they pick up another one tomorrow? Well, let's see. But on today's form, CarGuy Racing looking really remarkably strong. Third place trophy for AAS Motorsport for the two drivers. I really quite like this idea of these Yagibo beanbags. Certainly the drivers deserve a rest. The others will just see if they can usurp them tomorrow. Second place, Yagibo Racing. Smiling away. Great to see Japanese crews doing well on home ground, but rising from the podium beanbag, Kei Kozzolino and Takeshi Kimura, they worked hard, and that was a very popular win. You can hear the applause from down below, and Kei enormously delighted with that victory. There's confirmation. Kimura and Kozzolino top step. Second place, Yokomizo Fujinami. So there's a 2 Ferrari crews and a Porsche crew, Cantadi Kusiri and Tanart Satyanthirakul in third place. That's the overall podium, but we have 4 more podiums to follow. So applause all round. And for the other crews, they have to consider, the other 22 crews, what they can do to depose these three crews. So I think we haven't heard the last from Nick Foster and Prince Jeffrey Ibrahim, just off the podium today in 4th overall. They could certainly be in the mix, and I really fancy also the chances of Porsche Center Okazaki. They came through very strongly at the end of the race, so we could yet have a change. But we know the crews that won today is the crew that is going to be starting on pole position tomorrow for CarGuy Racing. They're going to be very hard to beat. The markers are in the sand now. That's the form here at Fuji, and there wasn't a huge difference between the grid of the first race and the second. However, of course, the starting drivers today are the finishing races tomorrow. So let's go back and just take a look again as we look out across the Fuji Speedway landscape, the marvellous Fuji Speedway landscape. Those 2 Ferraris, first and second, a good margin ahead of the best of the Porsches, and Mercedes in the mix, another lap or 2, and I reckon Nick Foster could have maybe got up into third place overall. GT3 AM was won, by the way, by the number 2 McLaren. That's down in 9th place overall, and a good run for them. And GTC, it was won by Banksy, who joined the championship this weekend, and Shinji Takai. That's in a Porsche Cup class car, so they were the only starters, but they were finishers. They take a victory in that class. And if we scroll through to the second page of the race graphic, we can show you who finished exactly where in the GT4 class. So, second podium. Drivers coming out. This is the podium for the GT3 Pro-Am. You see Jeffrey Ibrahim and Nick Foster coming out. Second in that class. We'd already seen the number 30 Porsche crew, but winners and winners again, of course, because the overall winners, Kei Kozzolino and Takeshi Kimura, were also in the Pro-Am class. They're on the top step. And the Porsche Center Izaki crew from number 30 on the right-hand side of the screen, Hiroaki Nagai and Yuta Kamimura. So again, this is GT3 racing at the best. 3 manufacturers in those top 3 positions. But for the winners today, for Kei Kozzolino and Takeshi Kimura, more delight, more trophies, more smiles, and they are going to be looking forward to Sunday very much, as am I, because I think this is a circuit that provides great racing, and it's up to the other teams to see what they can do to take the challenge to CarGuy Racing. They've laid down the marker, gathering points by the handful. Let's hope the weather's going to be as kind to us tomorrow. The racing will be as good. The circuit always provides great racing, so do make sure you join us tomorrow. But from me, Bruce Jones, I've enjoyed watching CarGuy Racing. Takeshi Kimura, fantastic job. So, just waiting for the remaining podium ceremonies. We've seen GT3 Pro-Am. That means GT3 Am will be next. And the first crew we should be welcoming should be Comet Racing. They're the crew that shocked everyone by taking an overall victory in the second of the racings at Suzuka. And that was a race today, I must say, remarkably little damage between the cars. I've just seen a flatbed coming in with the Lamborghini that pulled off at the edge of the circuit when running very well. But up for the GT3 Am podium, and Comet Racing with their Honda, Yusuke Yamasaki and Yorikatsu Chujiko, both being very polite and ushering the other one up onto the third step of the podium. Second place, Andrew McPherson and Ben Porter. I almost want to say AMAC Motorsport Lamborghini, but have to get used to them racing a Porsche this year. But up onto the top step, the number 2 crew, the McLaren crew, Team Uematsu, that's Tadeye Uematsu and Yudai Uchida, who took victory. So McLaren from Porsche, and in third place, the number 7 crew in their Honda. A great mix of cars. So the trophy is coming out, presented by Pirelli again. Kenoshita. McPherson just loves racing his way around Asia, and he's always got the happiest face. You can't see it because he's obviously got his mask on, but look at the tall Australian driver on the left. He's just loving his moment. He's such an entertainer. So trophies held up for the photographs, more photographs for the team and family albums. And the driver knows what comes next. It's, do you keep your race suit for tomorrow, or do you have one that's not going to smell of champagne to do your racing in tomorrow? But the spray will be fired over the edge, and you can be sure that Andrew McPherson will probably be spraying it further than anybody else. And again, great fun. Job well done. An hour of racing. Looking high in the sky, we've got a bit of cloud, but it was certainly much cloudier yesterday afternoon, so maybe another fair day at Fuji Speedway. Good to see it, a clanking of the bottles between the drivers. They've enjoyed their action. This is the GT3 Am class. You could say a more gentlemanly level of racing, but pleasure all round for all the drivers, and certainly for Team Uematsu with the immaculate black and blue McLaren. I think they very much enjoyed their battle. And top car in class was in 9th place overall, very respectable indeed, with a margin of nearly 12 seconds. So well clear. In fact, no, rather more than that, 2 other cars in between them. The best of the rest, in fact, in second place in class was back in 12th, so 2 other cars between them. So, waiting for the Gt4 class podiums now, and this is just to explain, it's Gt4 Silver Am will be the first of those podiums, then Gt4 Am will be last of all. So, Gt4 Silver Am, number 14 crew coming up into third place. GTO Racing Team, Brian Lee and Hideto Yasuoka. Second place in class, car number 55, that's Team Scala. Jun Toshiro, who took class pole, and Tatsuya Tanigawa. And on to the top step, car number 12. The crew from Kushido Racing, great-looking Toyota Supra, Motoharu Sato and Katsuyuki Hironaka. So just to reiterate, Toyota on the top step, 55 crew in Mercedes in second place, and the 14 crew in another Mercedes in third overall. About the first time today, it hasn't seemed sunny all round. Still quite a bright place to be, but the podium, in fairness, does look north, so not much sun shining down on them, but probably kinder on the eyes, makes them look rather more handsome in the photos, of course, not squinting at the cameras. Drivers all squeezing in, and that will just leave one final podium, the GT4 Am class. So drivers have done a great job there today. They will go for the bubbly, and then we will have the GT4 Am podium. "25 cars started the race today, 22 finished. 2 of them finished in the pits. But of course, that Lamborghini we saw pulled up at turn 6, just after the driver changes, so very unfortunate for Mineki Akura, and he got half a lap in and clearly realised there was a problem. But for these drivers, no problem whatsoever. They're going to do it all again tomorrow. Let's see if the order is shuffled. That's certainly a very good win in the GT4 class there. That's Silver Am, GT4 Am to follow. Yeah, margin of victory nearly 11 seconds. That was a tidy one. So Fuji Speedway, a great place to go racing. Space to race that brilliant long straight that you can see. We're looking back towards the final corner, but it's a long way down to the first corner, which is a long way behind the camera position down that we're looking from the first corner, but it's a long way past that takes you back to the first corner. Great place for slipstreaming. Right, so Comet Racing coming out. And just waiting for the drivers walking onto the top step of the podium. In GT4 AM, it was the 71 crew that took the plaudits. That was Masayoshi Oyama and Makio Sato. New teammate this weekend. Sato joined this weekend for Akiland Racing. So plenty of pleasure up there on the top step. So applause all round. Again, 25 starters today, five class podiums as well. So plenty of people getting their moment in the sunshine. But really, the real reward is not just the points you put in the bank; it's the experience of racing here at the Fuji Speedway. So the last spraying of champagne. Comet Racing crew of Kazuhiro Sakai and Masaki Fuji, this side, closer to us. Comet Racing, of course, not only running GT3, but GT4 as well. So the Comet Racing GT3 car is a Honda, but to make things complicated, it's a Mercedes they run that these drivers have taken to second place in the GT4 AM class. But the winners were the Akiland Racing crew, the white, yellow and grey Toyota Supra. And that was driven very well to take class honours. Masayoshi Oyama and Makio Saito evacuating the podium, and that's the last of that for today, but we'll do it all again tomorrow, starting an hour and a half earlier than today's race. But that's day one of 2 here at Fuji Speedway. Brilliant circuit on which to go racing, and we're going to do it all again tomorrow. Let's see what the weather brings, but I'm sure this circuit will provide yet another great race. So that's it from me, Bruce Jones. Do make sure you join us tomorrow for the next race in the Fanatec GT World Challenge Asia, powered by AWS.